Good leaders lead and great leaders multiply. The best measure of a leader is the leadership development in the people around them.
Hey there, I'm Krista Vance, entrepreneur and operations leader.
And I'm Matt Vance, tech founder and author of The Review Cycle. This is The Culture Prophet.
We explore how strong workplace culture drives retention, reputation, and real business performance.
We talk with HR leaders, executives, and founders building people-first companies that actually win.
Production of The Culture Prophet is sponsored by Mobrium, the original employer reputation platform.
Mobrium helps employers take control of how their company shows up in AI search and on review platforms like Glassdoor and Indeed, turning employee feedback into stronger reputation, better hiring, and healthier culture.
Learn more at mobrium.com.
Welcome, everyone. Today, we're talking about leadership. How many conversations have you heard about good and bad leadership? A lot of the content out there is very fluffy on this topic. Today, we're cutting through that fluff and discussing the hard questions with leadership expert Spencer Morris, calling in from Lincoln, Nebraska. So, Spencer, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
We are too. We're glad we got connected. And a little bit about Spencer. So Spencer Morris is a seasoned leader with over 17 years in the skilled nursing industry. We were chatting medical stuff a little bit ago, but including 12 years as a licensed nursing home administrator. He founded Pathway Consulting to help leaders and teams gain clarity, strengthen alignment, and build high-performing cultures, which is essential to business. With deep expertise in operational excellence and intentional leadership, Spencer empowers organizations to create lasting positive change. So yeah, we're super excited to jump into this more. And Matt wanted to start off with the hard question.
Yeah, we're going to go really hard right out of the gate here, Spencer. So
I love it. Let's do it.
Is leadership teachable? When should a people leader with subpar performance be fired? Or can you teach them up? Yeah.
I love that question. My opinion is leadership is a skill, and that is something that can absolutely be developed. Now, there are individuals that have maybe that natural tendency, maybe they have certain qualities that make aspects of leadership easier for them. It comes more naturally. But the reality is that there's leadership in all of us. But it can be harder to bring out some of that leadership in some than it is going to be for others. But the reality is that most of us need opportunities and we need that investment. If we think about, I love thinking about the individuals and the leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with in the past and think about the time that they spent with me. And the individual discussions, the hard discussions, the celebrations to a degree, right? If we step back and we think about those wonderful people that spent that time with us, we recognize just what they did for us. And we can also recognize that leadership is something that we didn't have. You know, we weren't that kind of leader at that moment, but with the help of those people that invested in us, we were able to learn certain leadership qualities and we were able to develop ourselves. So leadership is absolutely a skill, and that skill can be developed, it can be honed, it can be sharpened, and it can be improved. But it really can be hard to determine when someone is probably not the right person for that position. You asked, when should that person with that subpar performance be fired? That can be hard. And I don't think that there's a magic bullet or a specific framework that you need to follow, other than, have you invested enough in that leader to know that you've given them the right tools to be successful? Have you followed up with them? Have you made sure that with all the measurables that they're in charge of, have they completed them? Have they followed up like they're supposed to? And if they have and they're still struggling, then it might be time that we need to look at, maybe they're not going to be successful in that role, or maybe they're not going to be successful on the team.
That makes sense. I mean, as you were speaking to that kind of checklist of things to consider, it made me think about, performance evaluation for just any type of performance. Like if you have a designer and they're not hitting their deadlines and they're not taking feedback from their internal clients, their, other people that would contribute to those projects, then you'd have that same type of conversation of, you're not doing the design work that we need, and we've given you all of these opportunities to improve. And people leadership is just a skill set that's, you may have a people leader who does the individual contribution and people leadership, but you've got to almost score that performance leadership and have those conversations. I think in the best organization, like to your point, it's not a surprise if that separating ways conversation happens. Like it should be very anticipated in an org that's very people first, and they're having those conversations along the way instead of a blindsided, why didn't you tell me this sooner that I wasn't, hitting those metrics?
I could have changed. I could have done better.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Oftentimes some people get terminated or walked out the door, and the clarity wasn't there in the first place. They weren't told along the way, this is the area that we really need you to focus in, and this is how we can help and support you get better in that area. And it could be a surprise for some. And that's just not right. They should have that clarity throughout the process so that they know ultimately, if I'm not successful, this is going to happen, and I can recognize that, and I can get emotionally in tune with why that is happening.
That makes sense. And I think to the people leaders who are managing that performance for other people leaders, they have to think about the morale and performance, the culture of the team that individual is overseeing as well, because there's a magnifying effect that happens. It's not just the individual contributor level of win or loss that we're talking about. We're talking about a leader who, if they just aren't willing to change, or they've had lots of chances to, and they're just not putting in the efforts, then there is a misalignment, and you can't let the whole team's morale and performance just lag because there's an increased cost associated with doing nothing over time, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. It affects that entire team. And if that person that's in that supervisory role just isn't that right person, then it is going to negatively affect the team, the morale, and being able to determine that and move on from them, you can see the opportunity to really bring them up and give them the right kind of leadership that they should have, the kind of leadership that's going to help that team excel. And I would recommend that when it comes to how do you determine if that person is going to be successful or not, there's certain metrics that make sense, that feel obvious, those measurables, that these are the numbers that you need to hit, but don't have it just be in those tasks and the lag measures necessarily. What else are you utilizing to help measure? How are you determining that the people that they're responsible for are improving, and if they're developing? That's probably one of my favorite measurements of a leader. How do you determine if a leader is successful? Is the leadership of the people they're responsible for, is that increasing? And if that's increasing, then they are an amazing leader.
Well, yeah, that's a good gauge to follow that. As you were talking, I was thinking about, I've seen at least a few experiences of companies where it's almost like these leaders, they're like untouchable a little bit, and they're bad actors, and they're creating kind of a toxic work environment for the people that report to them. And what ends up happening is you have turnover in that team. And somehow that's not a red flag. Like, we need to see what's going on in this group with this leader. I don't know.
We just have to keep that top person happy because they're incredible.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of times it just seems like they go under the radar, even if, these guys are too afraid, the ones who are reporting to this leader are too afraid to be like, my leader is toxic or is being this way or something. But I do feel like sometimes the reputation gets so bad that there's nothing they could teach this person that would overcome the bad reputation. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Because sometimes it seems like the only thing that's best for both parties is to let them go to a different company and start fresh with a better perspective.
Oh, absolutely. The reality is there's so many different scenarios why a person can get to that level. Sometimes someone gets in a leadership role because they excelled early on, and then they kind of their flaws and their mistakes are looked over because they were doing such a good job earlier on in their career, or they were a great leader, but then they've kind of fallen off in that, and then it can become a little bit more that political environment where,
Yeah.
like you said, maybe they're kind of untouchable. And unfortunately, in that sense, there's so many people that want to say something, but maybe fear to speak up and say that that's the wrong person, or that they're not feeling supported, and they feel like whatever the situation is. And so it can be very, very dangerous, and it creates that political environment. And unfortunately, nobody thrives in that kind of environment. So it really takes, in my opinion, a balanced team, a leader, whoever's in at the top, the president, the CEO. It takes a humble individual who's constantly seeking the feedback of the people around to make sure that the leadership across the board really is the right kind of leadership, that kind of leadership that is intentional about the people around them. And because otherwise it becomes that political environment where people are scared to speak up, where individuals at a supervisory level have control, and that's what they feel like leadership is that they need to control the situations and the people around them, and that gets toxic quick and dangerous. And then people, if the supervisor stays in their role, the people around start leaving, and because they're not enjoying what they do, and they'll go find joy somewhere else.
They're like, how soon is this person retiring? Oh, not soon enough.
Right. They're looking at a timeline, like they're looking at the clock, right? They're like, when is this guy gone? I can't handle it anymore.
So here's another question. Do you, as a consultant, recommend certain systems for these companies that help make people comfortable to share? Or maybe it's some kind of anonymous thing, maybe it's a suggestion box. Do you recommend, are there systems you can put in place to kind of prevent these things from happening?
And uncover them.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick moment to highlight this episode's sponsor, Pathway Consulting.
Spencer Morris and his team partner with leaders and organizations seeking clarity, stronger alignment, and high-performing team cultures.
Whether you're leading a team, driving organizational change, or simply looking to strengthen your leadership impact, Pathway Consulting provides coaching, culture work, and strategic support to help you achieve meaningful results.
Visit pathwayconsultingservice.com to explore services and book a free strategic clarity session.
Now back to the episode.
Absolutely. I mean, there are some organizations that will do something like the suggestion box or something. I personally love the use of the one-on-ones. If there's a supervisor should be meeting with the people they're responsible for on a one-on-one basis at a regular interval, whether that's once a week, whether that's every other week, or whether that's once a month. And I recommend that in that one-on-one, you implement what I like to call the feedback sesh, where you are dedicating 5-10 minutes for the supervisor to be able to give feedback to who they're responsible for, and make sure that they're constantly improving and they're working on certain skills and whatnot, but then that supervisor's also asking for feedback in return. And so that individual now has the opportunity to express any potential concerns or something that they noticed that, hey, maybe as a supervisor, you could tweak this or look at that. And that, to me, one, it shows major humility from a supervisor standpoint. And it invites feedback to be more natural, for it to be common. And then it also makes it easier for someone to receive feedback, one, so they can internalize it and improve. but then it allows it to be more part of the culture. Feedback becomes something that to be expected. It's not a surprise, and it's not as hurtful or hard to receive when it is constructive feedback, and can be a difficult thing to hear. So that feedback sesh within a one-on-one is one of those most effective tools that allows for that open communication and a responsiveness and I don't know, it just helps people feel heard and part of the solution and part of a team that's growing and developing. And so whether you do a suggestion box, which is totally cool, as long as it's actually being used and it's not just something on the wall, but you need to hear what, as a supervisor, as a leader, you need to hear what people on the team really think, where certain challenges are, and be able to effectively and openly address them. So that's why I feel like that feedback sesh, it makes it there's a dedicated time for it, and it makes it natural for it to come out where a leader, a true leader, is accepting and seeking those opportunities to improve themselves as well as the team and the culture that's going on.
Yeah, I like that feedback sesh. That's a great title for it. But I also like how you mentioned it's a two-way street. It's not just the leader to the individual, it's back as well. And I mean, just a comparison that I was thinking of is husband and wife, your partner, your spouse.
Oh no, what's she gonna say?
We try
I
to
can't wait to hear, Matt. I can't wait to hear it.
Do I need to go in the other room or not?
The whole point of me sharing this is that we're such good communicators. But just, yeah, we try to have like a once a week communication, a two-way thing where it's like, how are you doing? Is there anything I've done that's bugged you? And how can I support you this week with everything you have going on, and what do you have going on? And then we do it the other way around. And it helps us just always stay on the same page. If you're only having one conversation when you're bugged with somebody, then it's pretty emotional and upsetting. But if you're having that regular communication ongoing, then you can actually talk about those uncomfortable things and have it be positive.
Oh, absolutely. And if that conversation doesn't happen in the first place, every time that situation occurs, then it gets more annoying. It frustrates you even a little bit more. And if you have the conversation once and you bring it up, it doesn't necessarily mean that solution is going to be resolved. So therefore, that open, ongoing communication allows for those solutions to really become reality. And you said it. It's not just in work relationships, with a spouse, with friends, family, whatever it may be. That open communication makes a huge difference. And in my opinion, it's because it encourages humility, it encourages gratitude, and it allows for leaders in the work setting to recognize that, hey, I don't have all the answers. I shouldn't have all the answers. I don't have all the skills that I need, but by you giving me feedback, I have the opportunity to get a little bit better, to improve myself a little bit more. Humility is probably one of the greatest qualities any great leader could have.
I totally agree. It's critically important, because then you're open to receiving that feedback and you can use it to actually be better, which is huge.
I want to share a quick little strategy that I think can work really well in these one-on-ones, and that is the sandwiching method. I don't know if that's really the name of it, but you start out with positive, give them really good positive feedback. This is what you're doing great at. I loved the work you put in on that project. Thanks for always being on time, whatever it is. And then, whatever that little concern is, and maybe just do one for your one-on-ones. Yeah. One of just like, yeah, if we could maybe work on this, that'd be awesome. And then finishing with another, like, thanks again. We're so glad you're on our team. Sandwiching it can really help, if you have that little piece of, I don't know, ingredient you don't like in there, it makes it easier to eat. So
yes, the positive feedback has to be something that is coming on a regular basis, because that is also going to help the constructive or the hard feedback that'll help that be received a lot more. But the reality is that a great leader, when they're recognizing the really great contributions of the team around them, they're going to be recognizing, and they need to do that. It needs to be authentic. It needs to be genuine. And then that also makes it so much easier to give that hard feedback. So I do like that approach for sure.
So I want to jump to one of our other questions that we had talked about previously. I think we've dug deep on a few of these. So here's the next one, Spencer. How should a leader balance holding team members accountable? Because, you know, these one-on-one conversations, they're related to performance, right? And feedback. So how do leaders balance holding their team members accountable with caring for the person?
Such a good question. Such a good question. And the reality is, I feel like those go hand in hand. Because if we think about our interactions with people that we care about the most, think of our kids. If you have kids, I know you guys have kids. You have 5 kids. That's amazing. But when you think about that relationship with your kids, you, as part of the way that you show that you care about them, you hold them accountable. You hold them to a standard that you know is best for them, right? You know that that's important for their own growth and development. Therefore, you're going to hold them to that higher standard. And it's the same thing with individuals that a leader would work with. If they genuinely care about that individual, they're going to hold them to that high standard. They're going to hold them accountable. And it's one of the best ways that you can show that you care about them. Now, I think it's also important just to communicate that. I know this is a hard conversation, and I'm holding you accountable here, but I want you to know it's because I care about you. I care about your success here at this organization as part of this team. I care about you. I care about you succeeding and achieving your dreams. And that's why I'm going to hold you to the standard and make sure that we're not letting it slip because, you know, it's uncomfortable or because I like you as a person as well. So that's why I feel like those go hand in hand, because someone can get a little heavy on either side, right? They could get heavy on the accountability side, and it's all about, you know, achieving this and achieving that. And then they forget the aspect of the caring. But they could also get a little bit heavy on the caring aspect and not be holding someone accountable either. So there is a balance that needs to be met, but I do feel like those two go hand in hand. And you cannot show someone that you truly care about them without holding them accountable and holding them to that high standard.
You know, when a company puts a person in a people leadership role, they're essentially giving them 2 customers. One customer is the company and the company's interests, and the other customer is their team member and their team member's interests. And people leaders have to remember that they're put in charge of balancing those 2 customers and their needs. And it seems so obvious, but I didn't even really think about it this way of what you said. Just very directly tell them, I'm holding you accountable because I care. And that's not going to feel real if you're talking behind their back, if you're not, you know, saying nice things or answering emails, doing what you say you will do. Like all those little things between the one-on-ones show if you actually care. And then when you say it, it either has meaning or it doesn't. So everything kind of connects together. But yeah, I guess I can't state the importance of literally and just telling them, I'm holding you accountable because I care. I think that's huge.
Absolutely. And I love the way you just described that. But yeah, be open, be honest about it. Explain to them why it's so important. And when you're caring about them enough to hold them accountable, it is for their own progress. It is for their own good. And I think oftentimes leaders just in lots of hard conversations, even in a situation where they don't know exactly how to say it, be open about that. I'm not sure. I'm trying to make sure that I communicate this in a way that's going to be effective. And I'm not sure I'm going to communicate it just right. So please bear with me as I'm trying to communicate this. I feel like the vulnerability of a leader can go a long, long way as far as good communication and mutual growth between 2 individuals.
We've dived right in. We've wasted no time in the meat of this conversation. As we kind of close up here, what advice would you have? Most of our listeners are probably people leaders or they're working in HR. So what advice would you have just for getting started in this or for moving on from a struggle with a team member? What final advice would you give?
Mm. So my advice for any individual or any team is to invest in leadership. Leadership investment, that's something that you can do in yourself, and that's something that you can do for other individuals as well. And I genuinely believe that a team's culture is limited to the leadership investment that they're willing to put forth. Example or an imagery, if you will, someone that decides, I want to now become a bodybuilder, and they go into the gym, and it would be foolish to expect them to be able to go ahead and bench 250 pounds right from the get-go, right? But it is something that they can do if they are willing to put forth the effort and develop and increase their capacity. Well, the same thing when it comes to an individual or a team, when they want to develop their culture and create something truly, truly special, they have to develop and expand the capacity that they have to do so, which is in that leadership development. Learn the skill of leadership. Understand what that means, the cost, the price that it takes to become a good leader, the sacrifice and the intentionality, the being vulnerable, the recognizing people and showing gratitude and willingness to develop and help others achieve their goals. So the recommendation that I have is take the time to invest. Take the time to invest in yourself and take the time to invest in people around you. And you will be absolutely amazed. You'll be floored and you'll be so excited about the level of growth that can happen when you're very intentional about it.
There comes a point in every organization where there's just too many people for you to single-handedly train everybody to do what they need to do. And I love your tagline. Will you share it real quick? Your leaders.
My tagline?
Yes, yours.
Oh, I wish I could take credit for that. I can't remember where I've heard it, but good leaders lead, good leaders lead, and great leaders multiply.
Oh, yes.
The reality is that the best measure of a leader is the leadership development in the people around them. And so a great leader is going to go in and create and develop and grow other leaders around them. And when you think about the effect that has on a group, where it's not just one leader and everybody's following, but that one leader is creating more, and more leaders are doing more for their people, and they're doing it for their people, you have an organization that becomes almost unstoppable because of that multiplier effect. So good leaders lead, great leaders multiply.
Whether it's whether you thought of it or not, it's profound, and you obviously understand it well enough to make it work for you. So I love that. Good leaders lead, great leaders multiply, and that's such a great note to end on. Thank you so much, Spencer, today. The conversation was awesome. So many actionable takeaways. We'll include a link to his website and his LinkedIn on our highlight article, and everybody tune in next time.
Yeah, thank you, Spencer.
Thank you both. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Culture Prophet.
If this episode gave you a useful idea, share it with a leader building a better workplace.
Production of The Culture Prophet is sponsored by Mobrium, helping employers to employ feedback into stronger culture and reputation.
Learn more at mobrium.com.
Until next time,
go find one way to prioritize your people and watch your profits grow.